I'm sure like many people, you're probably wondering, what in the hell is AIPAC? AIPAC is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, and it was founded in 1963. You're probably wondering, why was AIPAC founded in 1963? The reason it was founded was because of the Kibbutz massacre. You may be asking yourself, what in the hell is the Kibbutz massacre? Well, allow me to explain. A horrific event called the Kibbutz massacre took place in the year 1953. It was led by a man named Ariel Sharon. Ariel Sharon would end up becoming the prime minister years later. The whole city of Kibbutz was bombed. Every single home in this city was obliterated by bombs. An entire 2/3 of this city consisted of nothing but women and children. The reaction to the Kibbutz massacre in the United States was so bad to the point where they had to set up a lobbying group 10 years later to promote the relations between Israel and the United States. They had to start paying our politicians to convince us to like them. Another big question a lot of people have about AIPAC, and it's completely understandable, is who's on the payroll? Who's being paid thousands upon thousands, sometimes millions of dollars to lobby for a foreign government for their interests? One of the biggest people on their payroll is President Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump has taken $230 million from different pro-Israel groups from AIPAC since 2020. There's another person that donates a significant amount of money to Donald Trump, and that's Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson is an American-Israeli billionaire from one of the most wealthiest and biggest Jewish families on the planet. Miriam Adelson alone has donated approximately $215 million to Donald Trump's campaign through her PAC called the Preserve America PAC. To put that into perspective of how much that is, Elon Musk, one of the most successful and richest people on the face of the planet, donated $75 million as opposed to her $215 million. One of the most interesting things about Miriam is, like I said, she's an American Israeli. She is very, very close to the leader of Israel, the Prime Minister, Netanyahu. I think it's pretty clear who the biggest individual recipient of money from AIPAC and Israeli-based sources is, and that is Donald J. Trump. Now, Donald Trump is not the only person in his administration that takes money from AIPAC, obviously. J.D. Vance has taken approximately $167,000 from AIPAC. Now, that's not the only Israeli money, if you want to consider Israeli money in general, that he's taken from a very known backed source of Israel. Another big source of money for J.D. Vance is Peter Thiel. Now, you're probably wondering, who is Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel has a net worth of approximately $25.7 billion. Peter Thiel is not only a co-founder of PayPal, but he happens to be the co-founder of Palantir Technologies. Palantir Technologies is a CIA-backed analytics firm. As of January 2024, Palantir Technologies has a strategic relationship and agreement with the Israeli Defense Ministry. Let's move on to some other members of the Trump administration who are backed by Israel. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has taken approximately $1 million from AIPAC-backed sources. Mike Waltz, nominee for U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, has taken approximately $250,000 from AIPAC-backed sources. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has taken approximately $46,000 from AIPAC-backed sources. There are also a lot of members of the Trump administration that haven't necessarily taken money from AIPAC, but they've done a lot for the cause. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has been very controversial with a lot of the things that he's said over this whole conflict between Gaza and Israel. For example, and I'm quoting, "After being in the army and serving in Iraq, I saw different worldviews and I began to understand Israel's place in the world and where anti-Semitism comes from. This is not some mystical land that can be undone. This is the story of the chosen people." It's a weird statement to say from somebody that's in our government, you know? If they were in like Israel's government, it makes sense, you know, like he's promoting his own country. It makes sense. It's nationalism. Another person in the Trump administration that has a questionable amount of support for Israel is the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. In March 2024, she signed a bill into law that essentially makes it illegal to criticize the state of Israel. In this bill, it conflates talking negatively about Israel at all with anti-Semitism. anti-Semitism. In an October 2023 interview, Pam Bondi basically called on the FBI to interrogate and potentially deport American protesters who are questioning what's happening in Israel. Now, this one isn't really that surprising, but our U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, basically said, and I quote, "There's really no such thing as a Palestinian." Now, you can take that statement and twist it in any way, shape, or form to try and defend him, but it's not a defendable statement. Mike Huckabee is essentially saying that Palestinian people don't exist. Now, regardless of how you feel about the conflict, they are people too. There are genuinely so many politicians being paid by AIPAC to the point where I can't go over each specific one because it would take me over an hour to do so. So what I've done is compiled a nice little quick slideshow for you so you can get a general idea of how many politicians are actually in the pocket of Israel. This isn't a right or a left issue. This is an American issue. We need to come together and actually start questioning what the hell is going on in our government. Because why does Israel have so much influence over our political system here in the United States? Why does AIPAC fund the majority of our US Congress? These are important questions that we get labeled as anti-Semitic for asking, and it needs to stop.